I forced my husband into opening our marriage because of my friends, and when my husband seemed happier with another woman, I accused him of cheating and wanted to close the marriage again. But instead, he divorced me. I, 34F, have been married to my husband, Mike, 36M, for 10 years. Our marriage wasn't bad, but like most long-term relationships, it started to feel routine. We weren't fighting or anything, but the spark wasn't there like it used to be. I wasn't feeling the same excitement, and I started to wonder if this was just how marriage was supposed to be after so many years. Then, one night, everything changed. I was out with my best friend Sarah, 35F, who I've known since college. We were having drinks, and the conversation turned toward relationships. Sarah confided in me that she and her husband had opened up their marriage about 6 months ago, and according to her, it was the best thing they had ever done. She went on and on about how it brought them closer, gave them more freedom, and reignited their passion for each other. I'll admit, at first, I was shocked. I couldn't imagine sharing my husband with someone else, but Sarah seemed so sure of it. "You've got to try it," she told me, taking a sip of her wine. "You'll see, it's not what people think. It's not about falling out of love. It's about freedom and trust." My marriage has never been stronger. That idea stuck with me. The more I thought about it, the more I started to wonder if maybe Sarah was right. Maybe this was what Mike and I needed to break the monotony. I thought about it for weeks, mulling over the idea before I finally brought it up to him. One evening, after dinner, I nervously approached the topic. "What do you think about open marriages?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Mike gave me a strange look, clearly caught off guard. "Why would I think about that?" I explained what Sarah had told me, emphasizing how it had supposedly improved her marriage. But Mike was adamant. He said he wasn't interested and didn't see how bringing other people into our relationship would help anything. "I love you," he said firmly. "I don't need anyone else." I was disappointed but didn't push it. I figured I'd let it go, but the idea kept gnawing at me. I couldn't shake the feeling that we needed something to stir things up, and this seemed like the answer. A few months later, I brought it up again. This time, I didn't let it go so easily. I explained how I thought it could help us reconnect and bring excitement back into our marriage. I insisted it was worth trying, just to see if it could work for us. Mike resisted, but eventually, he gave in. I don't know if he really believed it would help or if he just wanted me to stop bringing it up, but either way, we agreed to give it a shot. At first, it was kind of exciting. I started seeing other guys, just casual things, and it made me feel more alive. I was enjoying myself, feeling free, and I thought Mike was okay with it. He wasn't exactly thrilled, but he wasn't complaining either. I assumed he was seeing other women, but we didn't really talk about it. We had set some ground rules: no bringing anyone back to the house, no serious relationships, and always being honest about who we were seeing. I started spending more and more time out, meeting new people, going on dates, and just living in the moment. I thought this was working. But after a few months, I noticed something that caught me off guard. Mike seemed different. He was more relaxed, happier even. He was going out more, meeting women, and when he was home, he was in a good mood. I should have been happy that it seemed to be working for him too, but instead, I felt this strange sense of jealousy. The turning point came one night when I got home from a date, and he was on the couch, laughing and texting someone. I asked him about it, and he told me he'd been seeing someone, let's call her Lisa, and that things were going really well. Too well, in my opinion. He was smiling more, talking about her a lot, and I realized something awful: I was no longer the center of his world. He was enjoying his time with other women more than he was with me, and that stung. I tried to ignore it, but the jealousy grew. I started to resent him for being so happy with someone else when I was the one who suggested this in the first place. I missed the way things used to be when it was just the two of us. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. One night, I sat him down and told him I wanted to close the marriage. I thought he'd understand, but his reaction shocked me. "No," he said flatly. I was stunned. What do you mean, no? I'm happy, he said. Why should I give this up now? AITA for cheating on my husband after finding out he had a secret Tinder account? So, I, 31F, have been married to my husband, Matt, 33M, for 5 years. We've had a solid relationship overall, no major fights, good communication, or so I thought, and we've always been pretty honest with each other. Or, at least I thought we were. A few months ago, a friend of mine called me out of the blue and asked if Matt and I were still together. Obviously, I said yes, and she went on to tell me that she saw his profile on Tinder. At first, I thought there must be some mistake. Matt's not the type of guy to do that. I mean, we've always been open about how much we hate cheating and how it destroys relationships, so I was sure it was either a fake account or just someone who looked like him. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. So, I decided to check for myself. I downloaded Tinder, just to see, I swear, and after swiping for a bit, there he was. It was Matt, in all his glory, with pictures he had taken on a trip we went on together just last year. His bio was full of lies too. He said he was single, looking for fun, and made himself seem like this carefree bachelor. My heart dropped. I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I decided to test him. I made a fake profile using random pictures I found online and started chatting with him on the app. It didn't take long before he matched with me. He didn't know it was me, obviously, and he started flirting almost immediately. Talking about how he was looking to meet new people and how he wasn't tied down at the moment. I was furious. I couldn't believe it. This man, who I thought was completely committed to me, was out there pretending to be single. He was lining up dates behind my back while acting like the perfect husband at home. It was a punch to the gut, and I didn't know how to handle it. Now, this is where I might be the asshole. Instead of confronting him right away, I decided to get a little revenge. I went out with some friends a week later, and I ended up hooking up with someone else. It wasn't planned, and I won't lie, I was pretty drunk. I didn't really care about the guy, but in the moment, it felt like I was getting back at Matt for what he was doing behind my back. The next day, I woke up feeling guilty. I knew what I did wasn't right, but part of me felt justified. After all, he was the one lying to me first. A few days later, I confronted Matt about his Tinder account. He tried to play dumb at first, but when I showed him the messages, he admitted that he had been on the app for a few months. He claimed he never actually met up with anyone and that it was just flirting for fun. He said he wasn't happy in the marriage but didn't want to hurt me, so he was just testing the waters without any real intention to cheat physically. I blew up at him and told him that what he did was still cheating in my eyes. He didn't seem to get why I was so angry, and that's when I told him about the guy I slept with. I expected him to blow up, but instead, he just sat there, shocked. Then, he accused me of being the real cheater, saying that what I did was worse because I actually went through with it, while he had just been talking to other women. Now, we're in this weird limbo. We haven't decided if we're going to stay together or split up, but things are bad. He keeps throwing the fact that I physically cheated in my face, while I feel like his emotional cheating and lying were just as bad, if not worse. So, Reddit, AITA for cheating after finding out my husband had a secret Tinder account? AITA for cheating on my girlfriend after she emotionally cheated on me first? So, I, 28M, have been dating my girlfriend, Emily, 26F, for 3 years. Things were going well for the most part, or at least I thought they were. A few months ago, I noticed Emily started acting distant. She wasn't as affectionate as she used to be, and she spent more time texting and laughing at her phone than actually talking to me. Naturally, I got curious, okay, maybe a little paranoid, and asked her about it. She told me it was just her friend, Jake, from work. I had met Jake once at a company party. He seemed harmless, a bit flirty, but I brushed it off at the time because I trusted her. I tried to be cool about it, but something felt off. They started hanging out more, just as friends, according to her. They'd grab drinks after work, sometimes go for walks on the weekends, things she didn't even do with me anymore. I confronted her a few times, telling her that it made me uncomfortable, but she reassured me that nothing was going on and that I was overthinking it. She kept insisting they were just friends, but she started pulling away from me even more. She stopped being intimate, emotionally or physically, and every time I brought it up, she'd get defensive. One night, I saw her phone light up with a message from Jake. It wasn't explicit, but the tone was definitely more than just friends. She had been telling him things she never shared with me anymore, and it felt like a slap in the face. I realized she was emotionally cheating on me, whether she wanted to admit it or not. That's when I started feeling resentful. I had been loyal to her for years, but here she was, pouring all her emotional energy into this guy from work while pushing me aside. I felt ignored, betrayed, and honestly, angry. So, I did something I'm not proud of. I went out with some friends one night, and long story short, I ended up sleeping with someone else. It wasn't planned. I didn't go out with the intention of cheating, but when it happened, it felt like I was finally getting the attention I had been missing for months. The girl I slept with wasn't someone I had feelings for, it was just a one-night thing, but for that moment, it felt like I was reclaiming something I had lost. The next morning, I felt guilty as hell. But at the same time, I justified it to myself by thinking, well, Emily cheated on me first. Sure, it wasn't physical, but she put someone else before me emotionally. I didn't tell her about it right away. I didn't know how. Part of me didn't want to hurt her, and another part of me was terrified that she'd use it as an excuse to leave me for Jake. A couple of weeks later, though, the guilt ate away at me, and I came clean. When I told her, she broke down. She kept asking why, how I could betray her like that. I told her about how I felt abandoned, how her relationship with Jake felt like cheating to me. She didn't see it that way. She said I should have talked to her about it more, that what she had with Jake wasn't the same as what I did. But to me, it was betrayal, just in a different form. We've been on shaky ground since. She says she can't trust me anymore, but I can't shake the feeling that she broke my trust first. We haven't officially broken up, but things are bad, and I don't know if we can recover from this. So, Reddit, AITA for cheating after feeling emotionally cheated on? AITA for cheating on my girlfriend after she repeatedly flirted with her ex in front of me? I, 29M, have been with my girlfriend, Rachel, 27F, for almost 2 years now. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but lately, one issue has been tearing us apart. Rachel is still really close with her ex, Dave, 30M. They dated for a few years before we got together, and she swears up and down that they're just friends now. At first, I tried to be understanding. I didn't want to be that guy who tells his girlfriend she can't have male friends, even if it's an ex. But over time, things have gotten worse. Whenever we're at a party or hanging out in a group and Dave's there, she's all over him. She doesn't physically cross the line, not that I've seen, but she's constantly laughing at his jokes, touching his arm, and reminiscing about the good old days when they were together. It makes me uncomfortable, and I've told her this several times. But she just brushes it off, saying, "You're overreacting. Dave and I are just friends." I tried to ignore it and let it go, but it kept eating at me. She would talk about him all the time, telling me stories about their past relationship, how much fun they used to have, and how he's always been there for her. It got to the point where I felt like a third wheel whenever he was around. About a month ago, we were at a party, and Rachel was at it again, flirting with Dave, laughing with him, while barely acknowledging me. I tried to stay calm, but after a few drinks, I'd had enough. I pulled her aside and asked why she was acting like this in front of me. She got defensive and told me I was being insecure and that I needed to trust her. That night, I left the party early, feeling humiliated and angry. A couple of days later, I ran into an old friend from college, Lily, 28F, who I hadn't seen in years. We started catching up over coffee, and she mentioned that she was going through a rough breakup. We ended up spending more time together, talking about relationships, and venting about our personal struggles. She was understanding and made me feel heard, something I hadn't felt with Rachel in a long time. I know what you're thinking, and yeah, things escalated from there. One night, after hanging out with Lily again, we slept together. It wasn't planned, and I'll admit, part of me just wanted to feel appreciated again. The next morning, I felt guilty but also weirdly justified. I had been putting up with Rachel's behavior for months, and it felt like she was emotionally cheating on me with Dave anyway. So, in my mind, I wasn't the only one to blame. A week later, I told Rachel about what happened with Lily. I didn't want to keep it a secret, and I felt like she needed to know. When I told her, she was devastated. She accused me of being a cheater, of throwing away our relationship for a fling. I tried to explain that I felt like she had been emotionally cheating on me for months with Dave, but she didn't see it that way. She said she and Dave were just friends and that I had overreacted. Now, she's furious with me, and we're taking some space. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but part of me feels like I was pushed into this. I know cheating was wrong, but I also feel like Rachel's constant flirting with her ex was a huge betrayal in its own way. So, Reddit, AITA for cheating on my girlfriend after months of watching her flirt with her ex?